only about 10% of the U.S. population, well, depending where you're at, have a graduate degree, 40% on an undergrad. So you're doing a great job here, and this is something you should be proud of yourself. And I know you're anxious. You're like, I just want to get through this, and you've worked hard, and you're like, I don't need anything too stressful. And I will say this course has a lot of things that you're going to be doing, but most students find it very rewarding, and most students we find enjoy the course once they get used to things, once they realize its purpose. And we are so appreciative that you're here, because it shows, and even if you're listening to recording, it shows that you want to learn and be prepared. So the things that we cover tonight will help you prepare to be successful in this course. And I have my two esteemed instructors that were handpicked by me many moons ago. I'm not going to age them either, but they've been with me for quite some time, and I'm proud to have them as instructors in the Capstone. And so I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Dr. McGivern, I'll start with you.
I'm Dr. McGivern. Dr. Mike's my nickname. I've been with Post, 2007, I think it was. I've been teaching this class since 2018. I'm student focused, love to help students, and I'm always an email away if you need me.
Thank you,
Jim?
dear, very much, Dr. McGivern. Dr. Bennett.
Yeah, Prakash Menon. I've been with Post for close to 15 years, and I've done this Capstone for almost over 10 years, I believe now. So mentored a pretty good amount of students, and it's been very exciting and interesting each time I teach this course. And so students bring in a lot to this course too, and I do help them out to be successful. So I'm sure everybody will enjoy this Capstone. It's pretty fascinating. Thanks.
And as we go through tonight, I want you to think that this course is kind of like eating an elephant. Might seem really big, but if you just think about each bite, it really is not so overwhelming. And so we're going to go through the components tonight and tell you the things that you should focus on and consider as you go through the course. I have 4 bullet points on the top here. And the first thing is you work in virtual teams, but this is not a PBL class. It has a component of a team, but the class is not just about the team project. There's more than that, but it's a component of it. So it's not a project-based learning course, but there is a very important team component. And what you're going to be doing as a team to start out in this course is that you're going to be running a company, a simulated company, and you're going to be selling sensors. And we use a third party simulation called Capstone that you will see when you get into the course. You'll be provided information by your professor and an announcement of where to get this information to log into the simulation and use your ID and everything to get into the course and start to navigate it. And that's what you should be doing as you begin the course. It's beyond Ultra, has nothing to do with Ultra. You just go through an announcement, get to the simulation, and you'll be working in a team of somewhere between 4 and 6 students. 5's typical, but depending on the size of the course, we'll have 4 to 6 students in a team. The professor pretty much picks the teams based just randomly. However, we do consider your concentration. So the professor will get the list of your concentration. And we do try to keep it diverse as far as your backgrounds and your concentrations. So if we can have some marketing folks, innovation folks, and so on, then it just makes a more robust experience because you're getting other people's backgrounds. But sometimes we get a lot of project management or a lot of leadership students, so we're not able to do it. But the teams still do very well. And so the purpose of this team, as I said, is to run this business. And you're going to use what you've learned in our program, and you're going to be making very important decisions as if you were a senior leader in this organization. You'll have different names that are assigned to your teams, and your professor will have an announcement to tell you what team you're on, and you'll have a name that's given to your team. And you will go and start working with your group members, go around, navigate, get used to the navigation of the simulation. And you'll be making very important decisions such as who to market the sensors to, because you have different markets. You have the high end, you have the high technology, you have the lower price, and so on. You have to determine which businesses you want to focus on. You also have to decide on your price. You have to decide on how much you're going to produce, which is the most important decision, because if you produce too much, you'll end up with additional inventory, which is the worst thing can happen. You also don't want to produce too little and run out of product and hurt your sales. But going crazy and not looking at the marketplace and the demand for your products will put you in a very bad situation. So you want to talk as a team and make these decisions. You get a profit loss statement. You'll get information on your competitors. So you're on a team of 4 to 6, depending on your size of your class, which I think is probably going to be somewhere around a dozen, if I'm right, Alyssa, somewhere around a dozen to 15 students per class. And so you will work with probably 3 to 4 teams in your class, plus probably 1 to 2 computer teams, teams that the computer will be working with you as well. So you'll have that, and you'll see the teams in your class, and you also see the decisions that the system is making. There'll be a system team or two in there as well. And so your job is to work with your team members and decide these very important decisions by looking at the reports you have. And you have to make these decisions at specific times. And your professor will tell you those times. And we refer to those times as rounds. And you'll have some practice rounds, and then you'll have some competition rounds. The competition rounds are the actual rounds. And so as you're going through this simulation, your job is to, obviously be as profitable as possible and end each round with no more than one item. Is that going to happen? Of course not. But the closer you are to one left, the better off you're going to be. If you have thousands of products left, it's going to cost your profitability, and you'll probably be one of the lowest profit teams. So you want to get close to one, but you also want to sell everything you can and have something very marketable to each market. And your market will be different. The needs will be different based on what market you're in, considering what markets you want to be in. So you're going to be meeting as a team, and our most successful teams meet on a regular basis, once or twice a week, and they usually meet electronically, and they talk through the simulation before the round, and then have one. I highly recommend that you have one leader that you will ensure that you submit before the due date for the rounds, and that way you get all your information in. And then the day after, once the round is done, you will see your results. There's the reports will all be there, and you see how well you did. Then you meet with your team and go with the next round. And so, as I said, you have a couple practice rounds, and then you go into your competition rounds. And so the first 5 competition rounds are all on team. And some of you are saying, I just hate teams because there's always somebody that doesn't do their work, and it really stresses me out, and I just don't have time to do other people's work. I understand that feeling. I also understand in business it happens, but I will say in this course, it's rare. And I think both professors will say that, because people are at the end. This is not, you are at the end of your journey. You've worked so hard to be here. Unless something very unusual happens, like a tragedy, an emergency, a sick child, something unusual, we don't see that because people are highly motivated. You're so close to being done that students that work this hard will be committed to each other. And you do get a chance to rate them. And so there's 2 peer reviews, which can have a significant effect on their grade. But even more importantly than that, is if somebody's just not involved, not engaged, don't care, you guys do whatever you want to do. So you have your team rounds, but after the team rounds, my goodness, you have to do this on your own. You have a round that you have to do on your own. And so then that particular round, if you haven't learned anything and you're going through and trying to make decisions, and you're also part of that round is you're taking an exam on your knowledge of the simulation, you get a double whammy. You're going to get a poor peer review and not do well on the exam. So it's important that you stay committed to your team, treat people with respect, handle conflict as you learned in our program, uh, decide on a leader, and it is not the leader's job to do everything. So a leader is not the only doer. The leader is somebody that will help engage the group and somebody that will help provide direction as you go through this program. And so I think you should consider that as you meet who you want the leader to be. You're not required to have a leader, but we find that teams that do the best tend to have a leader. And that way, things are getting submitted. So bottom line is that you're going to work in these teams. You're going to make important decisions through this third party capstone. If you're having problems like trying to figure out the simulation in terms of how to navigate it, there is a 1-800 number that the simulation company has, and they run it. I think it's 9 to 9, right, gentlemen? 9 to 9 Eastern time, and so Monday through Friday, and you can call them and ask questions. The professor will never tell you the answer to how to get the best results of your simulation, nor will this number where you talk to representatives that are tech savvy about the simulation. They're not going to say, do this, this, and this, and you're going to get great results. That's not their job, but their job is to help you if you're stuck in terms of how to navigate or where to find something. There's also a manual that we have available in the course that will also help you. And so looking at that manual, you get this, first week to navigate around, you get these competition rounds. And so you're going to just take some time to learn. Don't stress yourself out in the beginning. And our students really start to feel better in week 2 in terms of navigating the simulation. I'm going to stop for a minute and go to my very wise professors to talk about some ideas that they may have in this portion of the class. I will start with Dr. Menon.
I think you covered most of it, Jim. Basically, what I tell my students, excuse me, is that to stay connected with their team members and collaborate and work as a team. That's the area that I've found some challenges some students have, as you mentioned earlier. In spite of coming to the last course of the program, still sometimes teaming doesn't happen, and that's a challenge. And I do intervene sometimes and make sure the team is cohesive and work together, because you're not graded on the simulation results per se. It's more how you tackle the situation, how you working as a team, and all that counts more than what the simulation results are. So try to focus on that. Connect with your team early in the week and come up. I usually recommend that they come up with some kind of a team charter so that they have something, their roles and responsibilities are figured out, and so they can have some focused way to do this simulation. Thank you, Jim.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Menon, for mentioning the grading. So the grading is not graded on whether you had terrible results or not. And sometimes students are very worried about that. It's actually graded in how you articulate. You have papers that you write about the simulation. And so you're writing about what you learned and what you're going to be doing differently to improve the results. And how you articulate that is how you're evaluated. And you're going to be writing that as a team. So it's very important that you're learning as you go along and not to be so focused on being the best team. We have some very competitive people in this program. And so they're just like, we're going to be best, and it's great, but it, sometimes those teams aren't the best at articulating what they did and what they will continue to do. So just make sure, just like if you were in a company, you need to be able to articulate to your stakeholders what your plans are. Dr. Menon, I'm sorry, Dr. McGivern.
Thank you, Dr. Lockman. Yeah, I have to just repeat kind of what was I just said. It's not all about getting the perfect answer. And I had a phone call last night with a student that's active this term, and she was talking about the CAPSIM exercise, and she said how much she liked it. And she goes, it's almost like we were starting a business because we don't know the answers until you actually play the game. I said, bingo. That's why it's called a simulation. And that's what it is. It's a simulation of a real business experience, and you get to measure yourself. This process is used by many universities. It's awesome. It really is good. So, but the key is, as said before, is communication with your team members and stay on task, and you'll do fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Listen, I'm going to open up to student questions on the simulation portion.
There's no chats, but if any of you guys have questions, feel free to unmute, use the raise your hand option. Crickets?
Okay.
Oh, Nicole, go ahead.
Yes. I was wondering, how doable is this class? Is anybody familiar with the Navy? Because I will be on a
We've had a
Navy
lot of
ship.
military students in this class, Nicole. So I will say, you know, when you're traveling and so on, we've had people from all over the world. We've had people take it from ships for sure.
Okay, 'cause I was worried about the bandwidth of the simulator.
Haven't ever heard that before. Ever heard
Okay.
it as a concern from any of our military that I've ever heard of in my years here.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't want to jinx myself though.
Or jinx
but I
Nicole.
haven't. No, I haven't heard of it, and I know they have students from all over the world, and that use the simulation. Any
Yeah,
other?
this eases your mind also, Nicole. As an advisor, I've never had anybody come to me with any concerns about that too throughout the term. So
Okay. I was just worried because the computers are really slow. So
makes sense. All right, Jen, wanna
Okay.
continue?
All right, and just remember, Nicole, remember that at least for most of it, you're going to be working with teams, so maybe they enter the information in, you know, that you work with them and communicate with. Certainly that 1 week when you are running the Capstone and taking the exam, yes, you are definitely going to have to be the one doing it, but I've never heard of that. But you know, we'll cross that bridge if we need to. Okay, the
Thank
next
you.
part of the class is related to the Capstone project. And this is completely separate from the Capstone simulation. It is all individual. It's not team at all. And it is your project. And so you have a few different options for your Capstone project. And I will say 85% of our students pick what we call determining something to make something better. And so you are deciding, I'm coming up with a problem and I want to improve something in my organization. And I want to take something I learned in our program. I'll just give an example. If you're a leadership student, maybe it's transformational leadership, you know, and you want to develop a training program, or you want to improve retention, employee retention in your organization, something like that you want to improve. And many of our students come from all different of concentrations in our MBA. You can pick one, and I want you to pick something you have a passion for. So if your concentration is project management, then it needs to be a project, which is not difficult. If it's leadership, it needs to be a leadership issue. If it's a marketing, it needs to be a marketing issue. And innovation, it needs to be something that you are doing new, that you're going to use the concepts that you learned in our concentration courses. So number one, passion. Number two, needs to be within your concentration. We're asking you a minimum 20-page paper, so don't be picking something that is so giant that you could write hundreds of pages on, because sometimes students pick something so general that it would be overwhelming. So you want to narrow it down. Both of the professors in the class will help you discuss your topic with you. And you're going to be writing this paper throughout the course, and you're going to have different milestones, usually with about 5 pages due. And so as you do the 5 pages each term, or I'm sorry, each milestone in the week that it's due, some of the weeks you'll have discussion boards where you put it up and get feedback from your peers. We do not have traditional discussion boards in this class. We don't have a textbook in this course. We're not doing reading. You're doing this capstone project and seeking feedback from others. And you will get feedback from your professor at those different milestones as you're going along. So making something better in your organization is what most folks decide to do, but you have other options as well. And the other option is to do a business plan. So if you're an entrepreneurial in your spirit and you think there's something in your concentration that you could utilize, and we've had students in every single concentration do some sort of business plan. I've had students in leadership develop an entrepreneurial idea to create a new business for leadership, transformational leadership development. You could do a business. We've had business plans for microbreweries. We've had them for karate studios, you name it. We've had a lot of coffee shops over the years. We've had a lot of those kind of things that we've had to do, and I think it's, again, if that's your passion, then I think that that's something you should consider. However, there's no right or wrong. If you decide to take a business problem or you decide to do a entrepreneurial business plan, both it could be good options depending on what your interest is in. You could also take a nonprofit idea. So I would say 95% of our students pick an organization they currently work with. And whether it's the military, whether it is for-profit business, they select that. But you have an option to do a nonprofit too. We've had many students pick nonprofits, something they have a passion for. I can think of several students that did military type of nonprofits for veterans and things like that, and apply what they've learned in our program to launch a nonprofit. Some of them actually launched these nonprofits. And boy, if I had a goal for you, is take something you're passionate about, start this nonprofit or something that you can utilize and get promoted in your job. We've had many students get promoted from their idea for this course. Now, the other option is you say, nah, don't want to do a business plan. Nope, don't want to do my company because I can't stand those people and I want to quit. If that's who you are, we are all in a different place, right? Then maybe your option could be to take something you learn in the program and create it where you can apply it to any organization. So for example, you could come up with a plan to utilize social media. So let's say you're a marketing concentration and you want to develop a social media plan that could be used by veteran organizations. Okay. Or you could come up with one that could be utilized to help the homeless in your community, or something, or other homeless organizations in other communities. Just a general, you could do that and get that approved from your professor too. Not very common, but sometimes we have students that might be in between jobs and so on, but they're very passionate about something that they learned in our program and they want to utilize it and implement it. So you're going to write this 20-page paper. There has to be a financial component to this. So if you are doing a business plan, we'll certainly expect a P&L. However, if you're doing some sort of business problem improvement. Many times the financial component could be a cost benefit analysis and these ideas. What are the costs involved in that, and what would be the return on investment based on the research that you've done? What can the organization expect to improve? So for example, maybe your idea is to improve retention and you want to develop a sophisticated mentoring program in your organization. What are the costs of those the mentoring program, and what do you expect that return investment to be in that? And same thing for a training and development program and job sharing and whatever ideas that you have to think about the cost benefit. So it's applied principle, methodology, concept, procedure specifically tied to your concentration. So that's what I want you to focus on. But the most important is having passion. Think about the scope. We don't want you to write hundreds of pages. We want to keep that. The minimum's 20. Most of our students are over that, but I don't want you to get overwhelmed. So think about the scope as something that you can work with. And then lastly, make sure you can get the information you need and do that now. So think about your idea this week and think about, can I get the information I need from the organization? That's why we don't want you to take a generic company. We've had people go, oh, I'll just go use AI and I'll just go in and just do Tesla. I'll have it all done in a couple hours, tops. Yeah, that doesn't work well for them because we're looking for specific data to make these decisions from the organization. So we want to make sure you have access to it. So if it's retention numbers, if it's training, if it's employee satisfaction, if it's leadership development, whatever the data you're going to use, we want to make sure you can get it from the organization. Now, the organization could be the organization you work for, or it could be an organization. For example, I had somebody do a business plan for karate studio, and they went ahead and found folks that had data from other karate studios that they opened up in other cities that were not a competitor. Even there was a karate association that they got information from, and so on. So this data can come from different places. What we don't want you to do is just take generic information from the internet or AI and call it your own. We want to make sure that you're going out and doing research that can make a difference that the organization can use because it's accurate information. So bottom line is that this is going to be a project you're going to work throughout the course on. You're going to do a 20-page paper. You will have a 10-minute presentation that you will upload. It will not be live, but you will upload for your professor. And yet you'll have an opportunity to present as if you were for the stakeholders. And those stakeholders can vary everything from senior leaders of the organization to maybe people that were going to potentially invest in your business. Whoever those stakeholders would be, that's who the presentation should be focused on. We want you to have fun with this. We want you to care about it. We don't want you to pick a topic. Oh, I've written on this 100 times in my life. I think it's just going to be easy. That's not the one we want to pick. We want you to pick one that you care deeply about. I'm going to stop here and go to Dr. McGivern.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, with the capstone paper, well, I just want to say, first of all, the students that are in my class right now are doing their presentations this week, and they're excited because they're almost done. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, and they're fun to talk to now because they know it's coming. The capstone is a bear to work on, but if you look at it, like as Dr. Lochner said, one bite at a time, it works fine. The big key is each week you submit a paper, the instructor gives you feedback, and we send it back to you. Follow that feedback. If you follow that feedback, you're going to do great. If you don't, you're going to struggle. All right. The other thing, too, is each week there's an assignment and there's a PDF file to drop down to look at it. Look at the outlines in there. That's probably the number one thing that I send papers back for. I send it back, say, look, if I grade it like this, you won't be happy. So please update to the outline, because the outline follows all the way through to the final project. So also, if you end up in my class, please reach out to me. I have a meeting during week 1 with the whole class to talk about topics, but then there's a lot of students that like to do one-on-one. If you're in my class, I just reach out to me via email. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Dr. McGivern and Dr. Menon.
Thank you, Jim. I think Mike did cover most of the aspects here. I do have a meeting. Basically, I do one-on-ones with all my students during the first week and make sure that they are on board with the topic. I recommend they come to us with a couple of topics. You know, maybe the first one they come up with may not be acceptable to us or to them when they start looking at it. So come up with some ideas, discuss it with us, and we'll come up with a topic that's workable, viable, and you can get it done in the 7 week time frame we have. Other than that, just to add that we're here to help you guys. So, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Just pick up the phone, call me, or email me, text me, and set up a time. We can have a chat and make sure that you're on track and get it done successfully. Thank you, Jim.
Great. Alyssa, I'll open up to any questions from students.
No chats, but feel free to unmute, guys. Raise your hand, all the usual. I think we're good, Jim.
No questions? Okay. Now, last part is probably my favorite part of the whole course is that you got one thing I just love, and that's the reflection video. And I'll talk about that in a second. But you also have an exam that you have to do. And people are like, exam, this man's crazy. I got all this stuff and he's doing an exam. Before you flip out and want to go to counseling and so on, just relax for a minute and realize this is not an exam about you. And you might think that's weird, but we're actually doing an exam on the program and we use it for our accreditation, but we want you to take it seriously. We're not going to grade you on how well you did or how well you didn't do, but we want to evaluate our program and be able to evaluate it on similar programs at other universities. So you're going to be asked questions on accounting and finance, and you maybe even ask questions on classes you didn't even have because some MBA programs have those. And so we always look where our strengths and our opportunities are as we make decisions about how to grow this program. So you are just to do your best. You complete it by the due date. You will get your total points. Obviously, we want you to take it seriously because we are evaluated on this from our accreditors. And we are ACBSP accredited. And so we use this accreditation when they come and evaluate our programs, and we make decisions, as I said, about which courses we're going to carry or which program offer, which courses we may make changes to, and so on, depending on the outcomes of the exam. I know some of you are like, I'm not a good test taker, I'm all stressed out, but it's not evaluating you, it's developing the program. All we ask you is to do your best. Occasionally we'll get emails from students saying that they're so disappointed on their results. But we don't want you to feel that way. We want you to just do the best you can as you complete this exam. The next, and there'll be complete instructions on how to do it and when to do it and how to find a link and so on. The reflection video is from your heart. This is a reflection on your entire experience and of your graduate degree as you finish your MBA. We're asking you to reflect on how you've grown, what courses had the biggest impact on you, what courses were your biggest challenge, what would you do differently, what recommendations do you have for us. I love it because we really get to see the real you, and you can share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. You don't have to share something that's very personal, but sometimes we have students do, especially when they realize they're so close to graduating. They might be the very first person in their family. Somebody in their life may have told them they weren't smart enough. We had a student I'll never forget talk about how they went through a terrible separation, with a significant other, and that person told them they weren't smart enough, and they just worked so hard to get through this program to prove to themselves that they could do this. And that made such a difference in their entire life and their self-esteem, and even a promotion that they had at work. And then we've had students talk about incarceration earlier in life, decisions they made, deaths of loved ones and children, and things that really influence them to drive them to meet this accomplishment that really, if you think about it, very few people ever accomplish. So I want you to think about that in whatever you feel comfortable talking about. Very few times in our lives do we just get time to just reflect and think about, man, I'm accomplishing something that I didn't think I was going to. And, and think about how is this impacting me? So have fun with that. Speak from the heart, and we want to see your growth and challenges and what we could do differently as well. The last thing I want to talk about, I want to plug our DBA. And some of you are thinking, oh man, I'm just about done with my MBA, and this guy's talking about a DBA. I'm getting a doctorate in business administration. He's crazy. I'm done. Yeah, we all said that. I imagine Dr. Menon and Dr. McGivern said that years ago, many years ago. No, I'm just kidding. And I will say that we all said that. And then, something clicks in our brain and say, we're a lifelong learner. I want to continue and I want to make a difference. I have a why. I have something I want to accomplish. Only about 1 or 2% of the U.S. population has a doctorate degree. We have one here at Post. It's been operating since April. We're getting more students every day. And I'm just very excited about that program. Currently, our specialization in DBA is leadership, but we will have more concentration as we grow the program. I think we're pushing somewhere between 40 and 50 students in the program totally, but it's continuing to grow. So just put it in the back of your head, not telling you have to make a decision tonight, but I want you to think about what your next steps will be. And if you're interested in it, Alyssa can help you on who to contact and so on to move forward with that. I'll stop here and add Dr. Menon, anything you'd like to say?
Nothing much to add, just to state again that, we're here to help you guys. So, come forward, feel free to talk to us anytime. And we'll make sure that you're successful. So don't worry about that.
Dr. McGivern.
Thank you.
This is an exciting time. It's your last class. It's another 8-9 weeks, I guess, from today, and you'll be done. And this is a whole lot of work. So have fun, ask questions, dig in, and just, it's the last hurrah. Just get her done. That's it. Thank you.
Alyssa, I'm going to open up to questions.
Sure. And I do more and more now each term, I have a lot of students that are graduating from the MBA and inquiring about the DBA. So that's really exciting. But yeah, do any of you have any questions before we head out?
No, just wanted to say I could finally talk. Just excited to be done with everything. And yeah, thank you. It was really easy to understand.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
All right. Anybody else? I'm going to stop the recording now, but anybody else has any
Nicole,
questions?
I want to thank you for your service, by the way. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so close. Like, I just don't want to push it anymore, but I have to go.